Hello YouTubers, this is GoldStandards0924 coming at you with another video. So this is basically going to be somewhat of a video response to the Italian Stallion 51, aka Fabio. So he did a video where he was doing like a four-part mini-series where he was discussing about certain cartoon shows that should be released on DVD. And it actually originated from a question that I asked him during one of those Q&A videos that he did like a while back. So it kind of because Fabio revisited that topic, so I figured it kind of inspired me to also make my own set of videos regarding other TV shows that I would like to see released on DVD. So it's going to be somewhat of a similar idea. It's not going to be strictly cartoons, though. I mean, I'll mention a couple cartoons, but I'll also input some live action shows that haven't really gotten any DVD releases of sorts, or at least like complete sets, so to speak. So this is pretty much going to be the purpose of this video. So I was gonna originally maybe split into like two parts. So part one would have been about cartoons, and the second part would be live action. But I've been kind of giving it some thought, and try to merge into like one video. So there'll be some cartoons I'm gonna mention here, but there's gonna be just as much as some of the live action TV shows, since there's been a lot of them that I've been kind of either discovering or rediscovering shows I haven't seen in a long time, or I mean, I try to do some research as I possibly can to make sure that these shows are released, or if they are released, if they have um like if there's some things that I wish that deserve to be better, which I think that was also another topic that Fabio did as well. Just shows that even if they have DVD releases, maybe they could be re-released with better features, better picture quality, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's basically what's gonna be expected in this video. So without further ado, I'm just gonna kind of run down a set of TV shows I would like to see being released on DVD or Blu-ray. So with that being said, let's just get started. So Jackie Chan Adventures. Fabio also mentioned about it. I looked it up. They actually had a VHS set because this is back when Jackie Chan Adventures was still running. They had I think they had Day of the Dragon, which was like one of the season one finale. They had some of the earlier episodes from that series. They had a few DVD sets. I think that was released in volumes, but um, yeah, but they haven't really released a whole lot of Jackie Chan Adventures home video releases. They haven't released the complete set, so I mean, this show ran for about 5 seasons, almost 100 episodes. I think it was like 95 to be specific. Um, yeah, it was one of the Kids WB's successful cartoons during that time, and it kind of surprises me that even despite that that show hasn't had like a domestic release in some shape or form. Um, so yeah, I would definitely like to see a complete set of Jackie Chan Adventures. Um, and another Kids WB show that I also wanted to see be released on DVD is Stack Shock, another show that was actually somewhat successful. Um, yeah, so I think yeah, it was on Kids WB in its original run, and then I think Cartoon Network showed it along with many other Kids WB shows that were relevant at the time. And then I think Toon Disney or Disney XD acquired the rights to it along with Batman the Superman cartoon. And they reran that for a couple years, and then basically it just kind of disappeared afterwards. I heard there's speculations of a possible live action movie that's going to be coming out, but that's kind of unofficial as of this moment. Um, so yeah, I would definitely like to see Stag Shock. I'm sure you can find some episodes that are around here. So but I would like to own like an official release, maybe like some bonus features talking about the making of the show and some of the voice actors that contributed to the characters, like Jason Marsden and Phil Lamar. Those sort of voice actors that that did the main characters, for instance. So I would definitely like to see a Static Shock release. Fabio also talked about Spider-Man. Surprising enough, it's also another show that hasn't had a complete set yet. Um, yeah, so I mean, they released in volumes. Like I think it was around the time that they were gonna try and promote the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie. I think it was the first one that came out in 2002. So I think it was around that time when they released volume sets of certain episodes of the mid '90s Spider-Man cartoon. So I think you had like Spider-Man and Daredevil. You also had Spider-Man and Venom. Um, I think they had Green Goblin as well, since he was obviously there in the first live-action movie. Yeah, I think other than that, there hasn't really been a complete set. But I'm pretty positive that the 1994 Spider-Man cartoon isn't out, at least in the U.S., for what I know. So, yeah, it ran for 65 episodes. I don't think it's on TV at the moment, as far as reruns are concerned. So, I'd definitely like to own the complete set of Spider-Man the Animated Series. Let's see. I think that some of the other ones, like Spider-Man Unlimited, and I've not seen the MTV Spider-Man cartoon, so I'd be tempted to watch that. But from what, yeah, I don't think they are released as of this moment. So I think he even mentioned that in the video as well. Um, the Men in Black cartoon, that used to come on Kids WB. They only released one season, and I remember they used to show on like Nickelodeon. When the series ended, they would show like the reruns for a little while, but they only showed it like very sporadically. So it was kind of one of those blink and you missed it. They showed it on the Hub for a few years, and especially when they're trying to hype up the third Men in Black movie. But it hasn't been seen ever since. Um, yeah, so I would definitely like to see the rest of the seasons get released on DVD. I think Life with Louie. I think there was a release in the UK on the Jetix brand, because I think like Jetix, when Jetix used to be like somewhat of a reincarnation of Fox Kids, but Jetix was kind of like you basically show it on like Toon Disney, and they basically like showed it all around the country. But the difference between some of those countries is that especially for instance the United Kingdom, they would show like certain Fox Kids shows that wouldn't be seen in the U.S. version of Jetix. So like in the U.K. they would air like stuff like VR Troopers and Beetleborgs and especially Life with Louie. Especially like cartoons that or live action shows that aren't shown here in the U.S. for many years. So I believe they did release a UK release for it. Correct me if I'm wrong. I might have to look that up, but I could have sworn I might have stumbled to that when I looked up like Wikipedia and other websites. Yeah, they actually released a few DVD releases, but um, yeah, I don't think they released the complete set. But it did, receive a couple Emmy awards for outstanding sound editing and outstanding performer. With Louis Anderson, just basically about a chronology of his life growing up as a kid. Yeah, I definitely enjoyed this show growing up. Yeah, I know there was like some rumors about a DVD release as far back as like 2006, but nothing came out of it afterwards. So yeah, so I definitely would like to see a complete series. I mean, it only ran for like almost 40 episodes, so it was actually pretty successful for a 3-year run. Yeah, so Life with Louie, definitely a show that I would like to own in my collection. Max Steel, I know they have the 2013 one on Disney XD, but I've never seen it. I am familiar with the one that came out on Kids WB back in 2000. They only released, I think, the first season on DVD. Like they released it in volumes at first, but then they had and before they released the complete set, containing all 13 episodes. Um, I don't think they released the second or third season. Especially, I think the second season had like Tony Hawk guest starring in one episode, because I remember there was like some promos that Kids WB did back in the day that Tony Hawk was going to be appear in like an episode. Yeah, I believe this was back when skateboarding and extreme sports were pretty popular during this time. So, and Tony Hawk had those Tony Hawk Pro Skater games that were popular as well. Um, yeah, so I think I would like to see the second, third seasons get released and try to finish that up. Um, yeah, so I think Max Steel. I know Fabio talked about that a little bit, but I don't think he really went into details much. Yeah, so definitely Max Steel. Megas XLR, yes. Yeah, I even made a review on it on my Forgotten Gems video series, where I kind of talked about Megas XLR. Yeah, this is a cartoon that used to come on like Cartoon Network back in the day. Um, yeah, it only ran for like 26 episodes. Cartoon Network didn't really show a whole lot of reruns after they initially canceled the cartoon, and then they like, put it like really like one of those graveyard shift hours, like 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the morning, and then they just took it off, never to show reruns of it again. And over the years, I've seen YouTubers try to re-upload some of the Megas XLR episodes, but they just keep getting taken down or getting flagged for copyright. And I think you could watch it on Xbox Marketplace, at least the last I remember. Um, and I think Cartoon Network also lost the rights to even air Megas XLR these days. So yeah, I would definitely like to see that show get released. I'm surprised that I mean it's only like 26 episodes, so it just kind of baffles my mind as to why this cartoon isn't released. I mean, okay, if another short-lived cartoon like Freakazoid and um, the Mummy cartoon and even Road Rovers finally got a DVD released. Especially since that cartoon didn't really get a whole lot of reruns, and for a long time you had to get stuck with all these poor grainy VHS quality tapes from the show's initial run. So even that show finally got DVD releases. So I was originally going to mention that, but yeah, when I found out finally found out that Road Rovers was out on DVD. I was like, oh my god. So yeah, if those shows can get released, why can't Mega Sex LR? I mean, it is still a pretty relevant cartoon. There's still a following. And just like what I mentioned with Road Rovers, Freakazoid, and also SWAT Cats, even those cartoons finally got DVD releases. Why not Megas? So yeah, I definitely would like to see that cartoon out there. I mean, they had a couple notable voice actors like Bruce Campbell. People know him from the Evil Dead movies. I mean, he did a couple voice acting in like an episode or two. Tia Carell, from the Wayne's World movies and True Lies and that sort of stuff. She was on that, or at least she did appear or did some voice acting for a few episodes. Um, yeah, definitely, Mega Sex LR. I would like to see that show out there. I think I covered up as much of the cartoons as I can. Now I want to also jump it a little bit into live action shows because it turns out I actually listed a whole bunch of live action shows, and um, I love cartoons just as much. Don't get me wrong, cartoons will always have a special place in my heart. So when I was trying to come up with other TV shows that I either enjoyed or didn't give a second chance, so I just kind of give it a rewatch to see if the show holds up. So it turns out that I actually had more live action shows more than I had cartoons. So I just kind of thought with about like whatever TV shows came up at the top of my head. So um, yeah, there's going to be a lot more live action shows also on here. I know Eerie, Indiana got a DVD release back around like 2004. I think I'm not sure if they actually ever had a re-release after that. But this show did have a cult following. I mean, it aired on NBC for like one season, and it even had a spin-off show that came out in the late '90s. Um, because I mean, when it came out on NBC, I was still a baby growing up at the time, so I only discovered this show when like Fox Kids showed the reruns, like I think around like '97 or '98. So yeah, they used to pair them up back to back with Goosebumps, to pair up those two supernatural type shows. Um, yeah, it's about like this kid that moves in from, I think it was like New York or New Jersey, and then he moved into a small town in Eerie, Indiana, hence the show name. And he encounters all these weird paranormal moments, and he has he's ends up making friends with Simon, who was like his next door neighbor, I believe. So they both do some investigation on the paranormal and anything awkward that goes on in their small town. So I actually really like this show. I'm hoping to do like a re-review of it once we get to like Halloween next month. So I really didn't like the way it came off. Just bad, poor sound quality, and so I want to really kind of re-review it because I really felt like I didn't do it justice. So I hope to do a re-review on Eerie, Indiana at some point. Especially next month since it's Halloween. Um, so definitely, I mean, I really want them to talk about maybe if they were to re-release the show on DVD again, maybe have them some of the actors maybe do like some sort of retrospective on the show, the making of it, how they were able to uh, utilize uh, s- some of the s- some of the effects that they use in the show, how they managed to do like costumes and makeup of some of these some of these maybe supernatural creatures that would appear in like a certain number of episodes, or how they manage, just basically talk, having the actors come in, maybe do commentaries about their characters and how they look like now, or how did the maybe the screen test, maybe they could talk about how they got the roles of their respective characters, and um, what if there were any original plans if they were to go for a second season. Stuff like that. I definitely would like to see Omri Katz, maybe have a commentary, talking about his character Marshall, and you know basically talk about how he could relate to the character, and stuff like that. Um, yeah, I definitely would like maybe like a retrospective look, and maybe some bloopers. Maybe if there were some hidden bloopers on the show, if they have it, or just maybe basically talking about behind the scenes and how it was like. Yeah, it was. I remember they showed reruns on FearNet a couple years back, and unfortunately FearNet's no longer around anymore. I think it merged with. I think NBC bought the network rights, and they merged it along with Chiller, which I think Chiller's still around. But yeah, so Eerie, Indiana, definitely would like to see a re-release of it. So I mean, I know the show's already out, but I think it's out of print. Um, but yeah, but the DVD releases is like goes way back, so I would definitely like to see a re-release. Um, what else? Um, I think a couple of Joey Lawrence's TV shows, pretty much any show that he was on. Um, I've not seen Give Me a Break, but it was actually a popular sitcom in the '80s. But I'm not really too familiar with it since they didn't really show a lot of reruns, and it was actually before my time, so I can't really speak too much about that. But it was definitely one of his bigger breakout roles. He was also in Blossom, another sitcom that aired on NBC in the early '90s. Um, yeah, I think they released the first two seasons. I'm not sure if they actually had any other releases afterwards, but definitely, I think a lot of his shows that he was on didn't really get a lot of reruns, or at least didn't really hold the test of time. Once the shows that he was on, ended up pulling the plug. Um, it ran for like 5 seasons. Ran like almost 114 episodes total. Um, Yeah, Shout Factory released it. I think they released the first two seasons, but they never released the rest of the 3 seasons. Um, WGN showed it. Then it just kind of disappeared and fell into obscurity for a while. the Hub showed reruns for the first time in like 15 years or so, and then and basically they stopped showing it when the Hub decided to rebrand itself as Discovery Family, and it's just. I definitely would like to see some DVD releases. I would like to see maybe other TV stations show reruns of it, like Cozy TV, This TV, Antenna TV. I mean, there's still a lot of retro channels out there. It's just not, I mean, most of it's on like digital cable, but yeah, definitely would like to see the show be on TV in some shape or form because I don't know, it deserves a little more respect. I think, yeah, and Brotherly Love, I remember that show that came on like after Blossom was canceled. It has his brothers Matthew and Andy Lawrence on there. Um, yeah, it used to also come on NBC for a bit, and then the WB, and then Disney Channel used to show reruns for many years, even though it only ran for like 39 or 40 episodes. Um, yeah, I would like to see Brotherly Love get released. I think a lot of these shows I listed were sitcoms for some reason, but but yeah, there's a bunch of them. Smart Guy. I don't think that's been out on DVD, or if it does, I don't think it's an official release. Um, let's see. I want to make sure. I don't want to come off ignorant. Uh, yeah, I don't think Smart Guy's out on DVD. Uh, I'm not sure about Sister Sister, which Taj Mahari's sisters were on there. I'm not sure if that's out. Um, okay, so they were only released the first two seasons, but it says that CBS DVD only released two seasons, and then they've been since been out of print. But now it says that a company by the name of Visual Entertainment has the rights to release the rest of the season, the rest of the series. Um, Darn. So yeah, they only released, unlike Smart Guy, they released the first two seasons of Sister Sister, but I'm guessing that the DVD sales didn't do so well, so now they're out of print. Um, it's kind of bummer. Uh, let's see. Hang with Mr. Cooper. I'm gonna kind of go into more TGIF sitcoms here. Yeah, that show ran 5 seasons. I think the first season started off as like kind of like a black version of Three's Companies, and then like once they got like Raven on there, once they got like um, Keeping Good and Junior's brother Omar Gooding on there, I think they went for a more lighter, family-friendly sitcom direction. Um, yeah, I don't think that show has been out. I mean, I know Nick at Night showed it for a while, but they usually show it like because I live in the East Coast, they would show it for instance like 6 and 6:30 in the morning because they like showed the reruns like 1 full hour like every weeknight or weekday. But they put it like really early in the morning, so obviously it's not going to do well in the ratings. So I think they showed it for a little bit. I'm not sure if they still show it on. I think they show on Nick Jr. for some reason because they have that Nick Mom block, which I don't understand why they even have that. Um, but I'm not sure if they still have the rights to that. Um, yeah, so I would definitely like to see Hang with Mr. Cooper out there. Another TGIF sitcom I'm surprised that hasn't been out is Step by Step. Basically a '90s version of the Brady Bunch and kind of mixed in with like Full House because it does have, the people that did Step by Step also did like Full House and Family Matters, and I think it's just Full House and Family Matters primarily. Yeah, the show ran 7 seasons. I don't think the show gets talked about or get the same amount of appreciation as the latter two shows I mentioned, and Boy Meets World and Sabrina. But yeah, Step by Step hasn't been released at least as a complete set. I think they released like a best of episode where they had like a selected few episodes, but I don't think they released like the whole set. Um, Yeah, so I definitely would like to see a Step by Step reunion. I don't think that's happened yet. Um, yeah, so they said that it's been out of print, so they only released like a best of episode where they had like 6 episodes, and um, I don't know. I mean, it's not even on iTunes or Hulu, which is kind of shocking. It's not even on the archive page online, so definitely a show I think that gets them kind of gets swept under the rug nowadays. Um, yeah, I mean, ABC Family showed reruns along with many other TGI sitcoms that they used to show reruns of. They showed it on the Hub for a bit, and then like I mentioned with Blossom, once they became Discovery Family, they just kind of got rid of all the old family sitcoms. Um, yeah, so definitely step by step. I mean, I know the show. A lot of people shit on it, but I actually liked it. I mean, I didn't like it as much as like let's say Family Matters or Boy Meets World or even Full House, but yeah, definitely would like to see a step by step release. Big Wolf on Campus. It was kind of like a supernatural, paranormal type of show. Well, kind of more like a supernatural comedy show that would used to come on like ABC Family back in the late '90s. It was basically a play on like shows like Teen Wolf, where you had like, the main protagonist who was like a football player in high school would get bitten by a random wolf, and then he has the power to transform into a werewolf, and it was kind of more like a satire type of play where they just make all these sort of pop culture references because his best friend was like this gothic nerd who was like this big movie fan and big fan of pop culture in general, and he was always talking about stuff like what happened in the movie and how it correlates to a situation that happens in each episode, um like I think one episode where Rochelle LaFleur was actually on this show. This was like way before Twilight, but yeah, she was the protagonist's girlfriend, and then like I remember like there was like a sorority of witches that were in disguise that were possessing her, and then they had and like Tommy had to get her out of there or something. It's been a long time since I watched Big Wolf, but I did manage to catch a couple episodes that you could really find online, because it's definitely one of those shows that it was very successful for its time, but I think it's kind of been swept under the rug. Yeah, it's been swept under the rug. Um, yeah, so I mean, it ran for 65 episodes, and yeah, I really would like to see the show out. I mean, I don't know why it isn't, but I mean, I think it still has a message for him around here, but yeah, definitely a show that hasn't been reran in many years, and and you could still find while you could still find some of the episodes online. Some of the episodes are kind of in very questionable quality. So I mean, you'll probably find some episodes that the sound is kind of out of sync, and the grainy quality kind of takes away the enjoyment of the show to a degree. But I think at the end of the day, I mean, I would like to see maybe like a DVD release of Big Wolf on Campus. I mean, even if it's like a Warner archive page, or well, maybe not Warner since it's not part of Warner Brothers, but you get the idea. Post maybe have the show be shopped online or something. Anything basically. Student Bodies. I think that was another Canadian show that also aired here in the U.S. Um, yeah, for those that probably aren't familiar, yeah, I also had like Ross Hull, who was like the Midnight Society leader from Are You Afraid of the Dark, was on there. Um, but, he wasn't the main character. He wasn't like the protagonist of the show, but he was like one of the main characters. Like you have like this teenager who is like an aspiring artist, and they both run. He and his friends run this school newspaper. Um, yeah, it ran for about I think 65 episodes, since that was kind of like normally the limit for a lot of syndicated shows back in the day. But yeah, so I definitely would like to see that show be out. Um, let's see. Um, So Weird. Also another show that I did a bit of a review on Forgotten Gems. Or before like Disney started to kind of go all out with all these sitcoms. Back in the day they actually had a serialized show that wasn't, a laugh track or anything. But yeah, definitely is so weird. It's about like this teenage girl that she has like her mother was like a aspiring musician. I was gonna say. So yeah, they travel around travel around the country, and obviously in the U.S. And basically they encounter like weird paranormal adventures and all things that were kind of unusual, supernatural stuff. Um, yeah, so I don't know why they haven't Disney Channel hasn't released that yet. Um, I mean, I know a lot of people always talk about Lizzie McGuire and Even Stevens and praising those Disney Channel shows and being nostalgic about it, but I never hear people talk about some of the shows that came out like before 2000, especially like So Weird and another Disney Channel show that also I'm going to mention, The Famous Jet Jackson, which starred the late Lee Thompson Young, God rest his soul. Um, yeah, I definitely enjoyed The Famous Jet Jackson as well. Um, like this actor, trying to live a normal life. He, resides in a small town in North Carolina and, try to spend time with his friends and, try to live a normal life, try to attend high school like everyone else. And, I mean, not get the fame getting to him, stuff like that. Yeah, I really enjoyed those two Disney Channel shows. I think also the Jersey was like a sports show. It was kind of like Quantum Leap, but kind of like on a lighter tone. It's like a half-hour show where you have like these four avid sports fans that get to leap into like a famous sports player. Um, yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Definitely those three shows, like I mentioned, on the Disney Channel. Definitely shows that no one really talks about anymore, but it definitely shows that some of the episodes you could find on here, but not everything's like on here, and if it is, it's like really poor VHS quality tapes that were ripped. That basically are out of sync, or the picture quality's not that great. So definitely, I think these shows deserve a little more, not only the more respect, but also a chance to really, expose these shows to a new generation of fans that probably are interested in these types of TV shows that they never heard of. Um, yeah, so that's also another show that I would like to see get released. Mm, gosh, I am such a TV fanatic. I mean, I apologize, but I watched a lot of TV back in those days. Um, Caitlin's Way. I think a lot of Nickelodeon's shows haven't been released completely, except for like some of the stuff from the golden era. But Caitlin's Way came out like I think 2000. Um, where you have like this girl who gets in trouble with the law and gets sent into she gets sent to this farm in Montana or like this little ranch, and they take her under custody. And I think like her mother died, and then like her dad was still alive, but he neglected her at a young age. Um, yeah, so it was actually one of Nickelodeon's serialized teen dramas. They didn't really have a lot of that stuff, except for I think it was a show called 15, but I think Ryan Reynolds was on that show. I was gonna think about Ryan Gosling, but I kind of get those two mixed up for some reason. Um, Mainly because of their first names, obviously being the same. But seriously, Caitlin's Way, ran for about like 2 years or so, and it was created by Thomas Lynch, who did Kids Incorporated. He also did the Secret World of Alex Mack as well. So yeah, so he has a history of producing shows for Nickelodeon, and I thought Caitlin's Way was actually pretty underrated. Yeah, I really liked the theme song. It had like this sort of lo-fi indie rock music. Um, yeah, so I would like to see that show be out, and pretty much the rest of the TNBC shows. I think California Dreams was out. I mean, I know Shout Factory released like the first four seasons, and then I think the fourth season went out of print, and then they decided not to release the fifth season because primarily due to poor DVD sales. Um, and it was just kind of a really damn shame. Because it's definitely a show that not a lot of people talk about. It's one of those sitcoms that kind of it was kind of a cash cow attempt on Saved by the Bell, but it was also at the same time. I mean, one of those shows that was very successful during its original run. I know TBS used to show reruns for a bit, and then I think the WB actually showed reruns like around like 2003, and I think that was the last time I saw any of saw California Dreams on my television set. But after that, they just decided not to show reruns of it after that. I think someone told me Much Music showed it in Canada, but other than that, I don't know if that show's been reran after 2003. But yeah, I would definitely like to see a re-release of California Dreams, especially the fifth season. And if they are going to release it, if they ever plan on doing a re-release of California Dreams, I would like to see, um, have even more special features. Especially the Jimmy Fallon one. When they had when Jimmy Fallon reunited the California Dreams cast. And basically their interview and their performance. Put them on DVD. I don't think they ever put it in the third or the fourth season release. At least when I looked it up on Shout Factory Online. Um, let's see. Maybe some of the actors that weren't available to do interviews, like the actress that played Lorena and Sly's cousin. I think his name was Mark. But yeah, get those actors maybe if they are able to contact them. So maybe have them do an interview on the later seasons. Especially what they've been up to and how they look like now. So definitely like to see a California Dreams release. City Guys definitely. Wesley Jonathan had some success of this show. I think I also had the guy that was in what's the actor that played. I think his name was Scott White, who played um, Chris on City Guys. Also was on the Mighty Ducks sequels. They also had the principal from Ghost Rider on there. That show that used to come on like PBS. Yeah, I would like to see that show be released on DVD. I think Hang Time. I mean, Hang Time. I wasn't really much of a sports guy, so I know a lot of people don't look at that show very fondly. But yeah, basically they try to capitalize on the NBA. Since Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls were pretty big at the time, and NBC would also show NBA coverage back in the day, and and they also had like Hang Time to be like that show to kind of be somewhat of a marketing ploy, to kind of capitalize on NBA's popularity, and Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant actually appeared on an episode of Hang Time. Anthony Anderson actually started to bring up interviews, regarding Hang Time. So, and especially, since it's been 20 years this month that Hang Time premiered. So, yeah, definitely. I think he's on the show called Blackish now, which is on ABC at the moment. But, um, I mean, I'm sure there are fans of this show out there. I mean, I'm not joking. I mean, yeah, there's, a lot of these sitcoms may not hold up well, but there are some of them that have fans, so I won't rule that out. I won't deny that. Um, One world I'm not too familiar with, but even though it had like from what I heard that Alyssa Reyes from all that was on there, and the actor who was on Johnny Tsunami was on there as well. So I actually watched a couple episodes actually. So I don't really know what to say too much since I don't really have any nostalgic memories of it. Since I don't think NBC ever or any other network showed reruns of it after it ended. So yeah, pretty much the whole TNBC lineup probably should deserve to be released on DVD. Mystic Knights of Ternanog, basically kind of like a medieval Power Rangers, but I thought that was actually a pretty solid show, or at least a decent. I appreciate Saban for actually trying to do some original work. With the try to create their own entire story that isn't taken from a Japanese footage. Like with Power Rangers, they always take stuff from Super Sentai, and Beetleborgs, they took stuff from like Beef Fighter, VR Troopers. I mean, they both of them were like from a show called Metal Heroes, which I don't think is airing in Japan anymore. Um, Masked Rider they had that was based on the Kamen Rider franchise in Japan. I mean, the only other show they had that was kind of like Power Rangers that wasn't adapting stuff from like Japanese footage or shows from other shows was Tattoo Teenage Alien Fighters, but that show kind of gets critically panned. But Mystic Knights was definitely just definitely an attempt to kind of make entirely original footage, especially for their attempt at Ameritoku. Um, I don't think there's been any other show that's after this that had like stuff that wasn't based on a comic book or a popular foreign show and stuff like that. But definitely Mystic Knights would definitely be out on DVD. I would like to see a Mystic Knights. Veritas the Quest that used to come on ABC. So kind of diving more a little bit on hour-long dramas. Um, yeah, I also had Kobe Smulders, before How I Met Your Mother and the Avengers movies. So this is kind of one of her earlier roles. Um, the actor that played Imhotep from the Mummy movies was actually on here, and he actually played a good guy, which is kind of ironic. Ryan Merriman, if people grew up watching Disney Channel back in the day, you might know him on Smart House with Katie Sagal. He was in Luck of the Irish and I believe A Ring of Endless Light, which had like Jared Padalecki from Supernatural on it, and Misha Barton from the OC was on there as well. Um, yeah, so yeah, the show I think in the U.S. they only ran 4 episodes, even though they actually produced 13 episodes. But the rest of the let's see, what's 13 minus 4? I think it's 13 minus 4 is 9. So yeah, like 9 episodes were shown elsewhere overseas, but in the U.S. they only aired 4 episodes, so they never, not only that the U.S. never aired the rest of the series, but they're not even on DVD. So definitely a show that probably deserves a DVD release. Especially from some of the actors that were on there at least. I think Roger Rees was on there at one point. So yeah, definitely. It was kind of like Indiana Jones and Johnny Quest kind of meshed together, but I thought it was like a little fun show. Um, and then we get to like Saturday afternoon syndication with um, I was gonna say Vanishing Sun. Um, definitely, it's like one of those. It's like a martial arts show, but it also based on a couple movies, and then like one of the main characters dies, and something happened, and he had to run from the law, so he goes to the U.S. and travels all across the country to kind of find his freedom. Um, yeah, I actually remember. Well, I didn't say I remember that show, but I remember discovering it on Encore Action with yeah, I think his name was Russell Wong. So yeah, I would like to see Vanishing Sun on there. Ran 13 episodes. Um, Baywatch. I mean, I know a lot of people are probably going to crap on me for even mentioning that show, but yeah, the show ran 11 seasons. I know the DVD releases are out in like overseas. I think in Germany or somewhere around Europe, but here in the U.S. they only released like the first 3 seasons, and like they changed around like some of the music on the show. So rather than having Jimmy Jameson, what was that song? "I'll Be Ready," which was like the iconic theme song for Baywatch. Unfortunately they weren't able to secure the rights to it, so they replaced it with something else. Um, yeah, so I think after the first 3 seasons, they just kind of stopped releasing the rest of the other DVD releases. I think they now show it on like a show called or a channel called Cozy TV, but basically like a reruns channel. But um, yeah, I mean, especially now, I think like The Rock is gonna be starring in that Baywatch movie that's been kind of talked about for years. But yeah, there have been talks about a Baywatch movie for a while, so maybe if they do, maybe they try to secure the rights for some of the music because I know they played a lot of licensed music that played a big part in some of the shows. Like they will always show montages of certain characters and what they're going through and stuff. I think yeah. So because they used a lot of music, around Baywatch, so I think that might be why the show hasn't been out on DVD, especially here in the U.S. Since I think in the UK they even have like all the original music intact, but they don't have like some of the stuff that's on DVD, or at least or all the music that's not on the U.S. DVD releases for Baywatch. So um, yeah, so definitely a show that I think when the time comes, maybe have like a certain company go out there and try to release it on the rest of the set on DVD. Um, I think the same thing applies with New York Undercover because they used also a lot of music as well. Definitely another show that ran on Fox for like 4 seasons, and it was a spinoff of Law and Order. Because Dick Wolf actually produced this show, and it was kind of like your buddy show or buddy cop show where they investigate on certain investigations, certain criminals that are plaguing the streets of New York. Hence the name of the show. Yeah, they added more characters as the series went on. Like they added a female who was like a love interest to Eddie, and then they had I think the other guy in the third season. I can't remember his name, but eventually, Eddie and that guy gets killed off by the end of the third season. Yeah, the show ran for 4 seasons. They did also kind of fell victim to because they used a lot of music. Especially when they had a hangout bar called Natalie's, which was kind of like you have like these famous musicians that would come in and actually perform for, in rant in various episodes, like basically music artists that were pretty relevant at the time. Like I think at one point they brought in like Brandy, they brought in Bone Thugs and Harmony. I think they might have brought in the Notorious B.I.G., but I can't remember. But I know they brought in Boys to Men at one point, I believe. Um, yeah, basically music artists that were pretty big at the time. So I think that might be the reason why I don't think there has been a New York Undercover DVD, or at least one that I've ever heard of as far as complete sets are concerned. Um, I think there might be like a bootleg release, but I don't really count that as an official release. So yeah, I would like definitely a show that I actually enjoyed. So yeah, definitely New York Undercover. Um, I think I really mentioned as much as I can on this list. Unhappily Ever After, which was like a sitcom on the WB that had like Nikki Cox on there and Kevin Connolly, who would go on to do Entourage. Yeah, they also had like that talking puppet and stuff. A lot of people kind of look down at it as like a Married with Children ripoff, um, but it had its moments. So yeah, definitely a show that's kind of been swept under the rug. Yeah, so I think that's really about it. So that's the shows I would like to see on released on DVD. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. So I mean, I know this video's been gone for a lot longer than I planned it out to be. So kind of goes to show you how much a TV junkie I tend to be at times. So yeah, so are there any other particular TV shows you'd like to see being released on DVD or re-released, or shows that deserve to be better? So yeah, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. And until next time, Gold Standards User 924 signing out.